Welcome back to video number 7, our final video for the Lab 2 tutorial. This one's called Cleanup, and it's dealing with fixing that error that I actually had you create on purpose. So when you go ahead and you scrub the timeline, you'll notice that there's that letter E changing into the flame, but I can still see the original E from the E layer still appear on the stage. And that's because we extended that tween by adding a blank frame at the end of frame 100. So what you might think is I can go ahead and just drag the end of the tween span here back to frame 80, but what happens is it moves the position keyframe relative to where it began. So if I drag it into frame 80, it's going to move it relative to that length. And you'll notice, once I come here, that the letter E appears before the letter N gets to the stage. And you'll see that even here on the timeline, you can see where the keyframes are. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll undo this, Control Z a couple of times to get back to where I was. And the first thing I want you to do is you'll right-click. Actually, I'll unlock the E layer and lock the shape tween layer so I know that I'm working with just the letter E. Then I'll right-click on that keyframe, and here I'm going to choose Clear Keyframe, and I'm going to choose All. And what that'll do is that actually remove that motion path. It just removed that endpoint. So then I can go ahead and drag the end of the tween span here to frame 80. I'm going to drag the layer E to the top of the stack just so I can see that letter E again and work with it. Click in frame 80, position it back on top. Zoom in. I'll use my arrow tools on the keyboard to move it into place. Okay. Zoom back out. Use the selection tool to modify the motion path and the sub-selection tool to further modify it. So once again, it looks like the E is coming right out of bird's head. And then I'm going to go ahead and click my selection tool, and sometimes I have to click on a different layer and then I can click in between to go ahead and get the properties for that. Increase the rotations, choose counterclockwise, and then if I scrub the timeline, you'll see the E is coming out, and then right as it moves into the next frame it morphs, and so you'll see how those line up. So now I can go ahead and drag that letter E back to its original position so it's behind the bird's head. So now I'm going to go ahead and save my movie and test it. And you'll see it's following along. There's all the frames, the hat's opening, all the letters are coming out in order as they should, and then it changes into the flame, and then the movie stops. And that's the end of this lab tutorial. Hope that you enjoyed creating this tutorial. It is a lot of work, and I hope that you got a really good impression of what it takes to create something in Flash from start to finish. This will earn you the first 50 points of this project. It's a total of 100 points. To earn the other 50 points, you're actually going to continue to add on to this project. So go ahead and read further in the lab, and you'll see some of the things that I want you to do, adding some more motion and shape tweens, and an additional button that when you click it at the end of the movie, it takes you back to the beginning and lets you replay it. Feel free to use any of the assets you find in this Flash file, or you can bring in additional graphics. I also suggest, if you have the other Adobe programs, looking in the Illustrator Cool Extras folder. That's always really nice. There's some cool things in there. And once again, if you always have any questions, you can always email me and post them to the discussion area. On a final note, I do have a special critique posting I have a critique posting that goes with Lab 2 where you will post your final product and critique your own work as well as your peers. And then I also have a discussion question related to this project. So as you continue to work through this over the course of the week, I want you to post your thoughts, your feelings, your frustrations, your successes, anything and everything, just so that everyone in the class can kind of get an idea of what it takes to go through this. I also would appreciate your input on these videos as you've watched them, if they were helpful, if there was anything I could add to that. So once again, enjoy, learn a lot, and I'll see you online. Thank you.